Today we're going to continue in talking about leadership. And today we're going to start off with being clothed with humility. 1 Peter 5, verse 5. It says, likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Yea, all of you be subject one to another, and be clothed with humility. For God resisteth the proud, and give grace to the humble. It says, humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time. And James chapter 4, verse 6, it says, but he giveth more grace, wherefore he said, God resisteth the proud, and give grace to the humble. He said, submit yourself, therefore, to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. All right, so, and then verse 10 says, humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he shall lift you up. Humble yourself in the sight of the Lord. So it's not talking about humility in front of everybody else. Like sometimes we have a way of presenting ourselves in front of everybody else a certain way, but it's talking about humbling ourselves in God's sight. So we have to maintain a humble heart. But if we go back to 1 Peter 5, something I wanted to bring out in that scripture. It says, likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Yea, all of you be subject one to another. So God set up a system of submission. We talked about this when we talked about supernatural authority. He set up a system of submission where you submit to authority, you have authority. But the way he set it up, of course, we have, just like in the church government, you got pastors, you got leaders, you got all different types of people. But in our life, he's saying, always honor those that are out ahead of us. So submit yourselves unto the elders, so it keeps yourself in a position where you'll always be humble. Because you got to submit to mom, you got to submit to it just keeps us all in a position. Like I got to submit to you because you're 8 months older than me. You always got to keep yourself in a position where we at least honor and respect the elders. And God set it up because he always wants to get us in a position till we draw more authority. So we draw authority by submitting to authority. So as long as we keep ourselves subject to authority, then we always have the authority to bind and loose anything that's trying to hinder us from continuing our acceleration and our progression towards purpose. So we have this is the key. The key with humility, especially for a leader, is you always want to invite opportunities for humility. So a lot of times when we're presented with a situation of humility, our tendency, our natural nature, just like we talked about the other week, how you don't have to teach rebellion. You're born in sin and shaped in iniquity. Our flesh is almost, without thinking about it, it's natural to rebel. But it takes a lot of word, a lot of submission to God, a lot of brokenness to operate in humility. Humility is not as natural as rebellion is because, again, born in sin and shaped in iniquity. So we have to invite opportunities for humility. I taught spiritual authority at our ministry school. And what I told people was what I work to do is I work to try to embrace as many humility situations as possible. Because I want to draw authority, I want to operate in authority, I want to bind and loose things, I want to continue to accelerate towards purpose. I don't want anything that the adversary brings getting in my way. I always want to be at maximized authority. So to be at maximized authority, I have to be at maximized humility. And so I'll just embrace opportunities for humility. So I said, some people are looking for situations to be prideful and prove themselves. I'm looking for opportunities to serve and to submit myself because each opportunity I submit, I draw more authority. So people are just leaving the authority laying around, and I'm picking it up because I want to serve people. So me and my wife will do that. We'll go to the lengths to make sure we serve people because it's a principle. You submit to authority, you have authority. Matthew 8, I went through that in another teaching. The other thing about being clothed with humility or being a leader is you have to be willing to be uncomfortable. And most of us look for comfort. We avoid the uncomfortable situations. But the uncomfortable situations, we've been going over this at Guy Talk on Saturdays at 10. The strength of a man. But the more uncomfortable situations you embrace, the more inner strength you build up. And that's bigger than looking, flexed or buffed on the outside. There's a lot of people who look all, puffed up on the outside, but they have no inner strength. They can't, they'll crack under pressure easy. Their character is so weak. As soon as they deal with any level of temptation or any level of catastrophe, they fold because they can't handle pressure. And so anytime, the more uncomfortable situations you allow yourself to be in, the more you develop that inner strength. And especially for young men, because life is not going to be comfortable. You grow as a man, you grow as a lead, a head. A lead is always under attack. A house band, a husband, he's covering the house. If the attack comes to the family, he's coming to the person who's covering the house first. So you have to, there's going to be some uncomfortable situations, distasteful situations. So the more of those that we can embrace, but every time we take the path of least resistance, or we live life based on just how we feel, what's comfortable for us, you're setting yourself up for a weak existence, and as soon as pressure comes to take out everything that you believe for and you work for, you'll crumble like that. The other thing about being clothed with humility is the goal is not to spend all your time trying to prove yourself, but being yourself. It's not spending all our time trying to prove ourselves, but to be ourselves. Those that don't have humility or pride, every opportunity they have to save face or to prove that they have some type of accolades or status, they'll jump at that because, see, they don't realize all you have to do is be yourself. What's in the dark will come to light. You don't have to spend all your time proving you're special. You are special. Just getting that validation from that little corner or trying to get respect among fools doesn't necessarily make you more valuable than you already are. Actually, it decreases your value because you just gave it you gave some of your value to them when you even gave them your attention. Humility is the key to operating authority. This is the key. Pride contaminates the application or the handling of authority appropriately. See, so when we live a life of pride, it affects our leadership because to be a leader, I'm walking in authority. I'm carrying a level of authority. But, that's why the scripture talks about being faithful to another man's, because that's your proving ground to see when I give you your own, will you handle it properly? See, so if I'm a prideful person, I'm going to mishandle authority. I'm not going to apply it the way it was designed. See, again, me giving the opportunity or me giving the gift of authority, I'm actually being given the opportunity to serve that authority, to assist others in navigating and fulfill that purpose. But if I'm in pride, I think my authority is about me. See, so that's your mall cop, or I was thinking about something the other day. Referees do it. You have referees and they're like, I got the whistle. I never played the game before, but I can control all the people that can play. That's not the purpose of being a referee. That's not the purpose of the mall security guard. But if you're a novice or you've avoided the preparation to gain that authority, you've never been submissive. You've always been freelance. I do what I want to do when I feel like doing it. As soon as you're in a situation where you have to submit to someone, something in you called pride rejects the opportunity to submit. So what you're doing is you're losing the opportunity to gain more authority in your life. So now when an adversary comes in your life and tries to put things on you or to force things in your life, you have no authority to bind and loose that situation. So now it attaches itself to you and it's running your life. So now lust is running your life because you don't have any authority to get it out. Lack is running your life because you don't have any authority to get it out because you're weak. You're weak because you have not, you haven't been strong enough to submit to authority. You haven't been strong enough to embrace the uncomfortable situations. All right, so therefore, when you do get authority, you won't handle it or apply it appropriately. So the scripture says God He gives grace to the humble. He gives grace to the humble. So grace allows authority to be received without resistance, allows you to be viewed as one of authority and influence. And influence. So the scripture says, he resists the proud, but he gives grace to the humble. So when I'm operating in humility and I'm walking in authority, people have no problem with submitting to my authority because God has given me grace or favor with everyone. So they see me as a person of authority and influence without me trying to prove my authority. See, that prideful person has always got to go, I'm in charge. This is my house. I'm the leader. See, because that person has no favor, no grace, he doesn't have the influence where people just want to follow. But there's people who walk in the room and people's like, we need somebody to galvanize this thing together. Why don't you do it? You like doing things. Every time you're in a conference or a meeting, they always want you to lead stuff. Because you have grace, you have that favor on. But when you've manipulated your way to authority, you ain't got no grace and favor. So you trying to take charge, but don't nobody want you to do nothing. Like, that's all right, we get him to do it. That's cool. Well, who made you boss? So people are constantly rebelling against your authority because you've gotten it inappropriately. That explains some things for some people. So this is the key. The key is, let's go to Matthew 20. Never see yourself, when you're walking in authority, never see yourself above servanthood. Matthew 20, verse 26, it says, but it shall not be so among you, but whosoever will be great among you, let him be your minister, or that word minister be your servant. So leaders must first be servants. So everyone is going to be great. Everyone is going to be a leader. Must first be a minister. Must first be a servant. People carry around a minister title like, king minister, but really it's a servant. It's a servant. Deacons are servants. Pastors are servants. Jesus was a servant. He washed the disciples' feet. So he was showing them how they should operate. I'm not above doing something menial. You shouldn't be above it either. And that's the challenge. Sometimes we're above doing the menial things because, we're so prideful. We're like, you ain't the boss of me. But, the scripture says all things you do as unto the Lord. So, and then you're gaining more than you're losing by serving. You're gaining more than you're losing. This is the key. Leaders must first serve to discover reality while maintaining humility and appreciation along the way. So leaders must first serve to discover reality. So as you're serving, you're embracing the reality of, something a lot of us have learned, I know I've learned over the years, is as I was serving, even on my way up and growing, as I was serving, I had more of an appreciation because I actually, people that serve me, I've served. So, I still serve. So you clean bathrooms, you do different things, you serve. Even as a manager, I worked in, right out of college, I worked with juvenile corrections. So when I took over and became a manager of the staff, I related to the staff because I actually walked in their shoes. So by me walking in their shoes, I was dealing with the reality of what they dealt with every day. So I wasn't just leading them based on what I felt. You have a lot of leaders that thought is, well, I told you to do it, you figure it out, make it happen. But they don't know the reality of what it takes to make it happen. So they just figure, figure it out. Figure out how to take care of your family, figure out how to eat, figure out how to breathe, figure out how to pay your bills. But all I know is get it done. A lot of these banking institutions, they have quotas. So they'll come up with a quota and they'll say, well, I don't know, all I know is you need to meet the quota. But they don't know what it takes to meet the quota. So then you have a whole banking fallout because no one really measured anything. Because they weren't embracing reality because they hadn't been in those people's shoes.